listening to Footscray Live.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Footscray Live. I'd like to start off today by having a special thanks to Cheaper by Miles, our sponsor. You can visit them at www.cheaperbymiles.com. That's www.cheaperbymiles.com. You're listening to Footscray Live. Welcome everyone, broadcasting live from Footscray City College. You're listening to Footscray Live. My name is Isaac Johns, and with me on my panel today I have James and Griff. This is the STEAM show, and our special guests today are Emma Pollock, librarian at Footscray City College, Rachel Beagley, a teacher at Footscray City College, and Michaela, a student at Footscray City College. Hi guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for coming. I'd like to start off by asking, what does STEAM look at? What does it look like at FCC?
Well, STEAM is a subject that we teach at Year 7 and 8, and we also have electives at Year 9 and 10. Mm-hmm. Our electives run very differently, I think, to how our junior classes run. At 7 and 8, we run what look like engineering subjects, wood tech subjects, design subjects, where students are able to build and design projects. They learn different content in mathematics, in science, and in the other areas we teach at the school, and they use those skills to design, to build, to create. At Year 9 and Year 10, depending on which subjects end up running, we have all kinds of different things related to coding, related to robotics. Mm-hmm. We have building design, we have wood tech, we have all those subjects in the tech and the science and maths area.
So, would you say that every student should have a right to learn STEAM or STEM?
It would depend how you define STEAM or STEM. At our school, we call it STEAM to incorporate art. So STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and the A, of course, for art. Different schools define it differently and run it differently. They integrate it into their science course, they integrate it into maths or other subjects, or it's a standalone subject. So depending on how a school chooses to run it in terms of curriculum, depends on how it's taught. In terms of what students do, one could say that STEAM is more skills. It's rather than content about learning those key understandings and those key content. You actually build skills to contribute to our society. So you learn about how to approach a problem, you learn about how to think through solutions, you learn about how to acquire information and how to use that information to solve problems, which I think are skills that are fundamental in every area of our schooling and education.
So, James here. We'll have one directed at Michaela, a student. So I understand that over the past semester at the school, there has been a STEAM program running, at various places, Gilmore Girls and Vic Uni. What have you been doing there?
So the STEAM Labs is basically a student's age group from Year 9 to Year 5 from 4 different schools. Now, with this, it's not so much about your science, technology, and maths, but we also try and incorporate communication and life skills. The way we do this is we have a Year 9 student leader who takes a group of 4 to 5 students, and they're a mix-up of students, so male, female, and different schools as well, to try and tackle big world problems such as climate change and well-being in our world.
Well, those ideas are very much based at our community and our society. Are there any projects that the STEAM program has been working on lately that really incorporate our community and involve our community? We'll go around. We'll start with Emma.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So the approach of the labs has been that we involved a community reference panel. Mm-hmm. So to arrive at that theme, there were a bunch of people who brainstormed alongside the students. Mm-hmm. So they came from businesses, they came from council, all sorts of representatives. And that panel brainstormed and came up. So last term, the theme was sustainability and climate change. Yep. And then from that theme, the groups then decided how they would tackle a problem. So they had that overarching theme, and then as a smaller group, they brainstormed again and thought about ways that they might fix a problem. And that could be an enormous issue, or it could be a local one. So, for example, this term it's been wellbeing in the West. One of the groups focused on street art and looking at how street art might improve people's wellbeing.
Yeah.
So, you were talking about how the students split off into groups and brainstorm their own ideas on how to solve the problem. was the main overarching idea for the students to take control of their own learning?
I would say so. Yeah, when you think of a traditional classroom, it's the teacher up the front holding all the knowledge and then saying, okay, kids, take in what I'm saying. I'm being cheeky here, of course. I'm talking about an old-fashioned classroom. I'm not saying that that's how it's always done here, but that is one take on it. And the difference here is that the teachers are learning alongside the students. So that's a lovely thing where we're all learning together.
I think something as well, just to add to that, would be to say that the STEAM labs have allowed students to really take time in the process of the learning, and there hasn't been as big a focus on that end point and the destination, and actually the journey of the skills that we built, the friends we've made, the learning and the understanding has been what's contributed most, not just our final presentations.
Absolutely. Like, I would have to say that I didn't know a great deal about STEM or STEAM before I was involved in this. And I have to say I probably thought it was about the tech. So that's been a big learning curve for me to realise that STEAM is a vehicle for tackling the problems that matter. So you take on whatever letter that you need. When I say letter, so today, do we need science? Do we need tech? Maths, arts, all the creative side? You don't necessarily use all the letters at once. And yeah, it's often conceptual. You don't necessarily have something to show for it, but you're coming up with the ideas depending what you can do in the time that you've got. So it was a limited time. The way we've been doing these laboratories, the STEAM labs with the 4 schools, it has been, let's see what we can do in that time, and then we're going to see where we can take it next year.
Michaela, you're a part of the STEAM program at Footscray City College. What's one of the projects, and how does what Rachel and Emma have been talking about, how does that sort of incorporate into what you've been working on recently?
Okay, so our last project with the students, my group, what we did was a little Harold the Giraffe kind of bus, like a mobile classroom, and that was to try and educate students from primary school to high school about drug, alcohol and mental health education, trying to just make sure people are aware of these things, not so much an expert on it, but just to know that the reasons why people can act certain ways is because of like something that you can't really see, something that's not visual.
So with all these different projects, would you say that there's a main theme to them, or are they all around different problems?
Well, our overarching theme that we came to with our community reference panel was wellbeing in the West. So we had a large group of people within our community from the universities, from local government and that kind of thing to come in, talk about some of the issues that people in the West are facing. We made this enormous mind map, and we brought all those ideas together and came to the idea of focusing on wellbeing in the West. So last term, the groups looked at climate change and tackling those issues related to sustainability and climate change, and this time we were talking about wellbeing. And within that we had some different people coming to present to us to talk about issues of wellbeing, so mental health, physical health, and those other things that are related to how we are and who we are and those things that are important to us. And from that, each group discussed those ideas and things that they were passionate about and concluded on a problem to solve, and from that a project to create.
Rachel, earlier you were speaking about the difference between STEAM and STEM and how our school incorporates the arts part of STEAM. How does the arts actually, how does that influence our activities in the STEAM program?
I like this question because every single person you ask will have a very different answer about whether or not to include the A and how that A is included, because I know some people think that it's important to bring in those ideas of art and design, but others say science already has art and engineering already has design and those elements. So I'm going to try and be diplomatic here and say very little.
Yeah.
But I think we've very much focused. I know the teachers at Year 7 and 8, they're the STEAM team. We've got the wood tech teacher, we've got our robotics electronics teacher, we've got me, a physics maths teacher, we've got an art teacher, textiles, we've got a viscom design teacher. So we're all from our different areas and we all bring different knowledge and different wisdom to that table, and we use those meetings and our time together to build these fantastic projects that we present to the Year 7s and 8s.
So I think I'll shoot this one over to Emma. So you were part of the STEAM program in both terms that it was running, and I was wondering, do you know how the projects that the groups would make would become a reality? What sort of steps would be taken?
I just want to distinguish between the timetabled STEAM. So Rachel has been a timetabled STEAM teacher here at the school. I want to distinguish that from the labs that we've been a part of, because it's been a little bit more experimental perhaps, and again, Rachel was talking about how do we define STEAM. So that's still kind of up for grabs as to how that's defined. So the labs, that's exactly what it's been. It's been a laboratory. And so you're talking about having something to show for it at the end. Is that what you kind of mean by your question?
Yeah.
So with the limited time we've had, there hasn't always been something to show for it. That's a bit like what I was saying before about the concepts. It's been the process. And so how do you measure success? Is it saying that if I don't have something to show for this process at the end, does that mean I've failed? And I would argue, well, actually, there's so much more going on along the way, and the Year 9s have had to be reflective of their process. So the way it's worked, in the mornings we get together, the Year 9s, the Year 7s, the Grade 5s from the local primary schools, and they've been working on their project. And then in the afternoon, the Year 9s reflect on, because they've been the mentors. So that's been a fascinating part of it. Ideally, there is something to show for it at the end, but that's not necessarily the focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you would suggest that it's more the journey rather than the destination that's important?
And obviously it depends, because every project is different. It depends what they were trying to achieve. It might have been writing a letter to Parliament, whoever they need to write a letter to, or what sort of change are they trying to influence. It all just depends on the project, because everyone's project was so very different. But ideally they'll get taken further. That would be lovely to see for sure.
So how do you think STEAM is making a difference in the mindset of students when they're going into it and going through the learning process?
I feel like that's a question for Michaela, but I'm happy to step in. Would you like to give that a go?
I feel like with students, it gives them more confidence in their learning. So what I try to do with my groups is try for them to split up into their own kind of expertise or what they enjoy in this STEAM project. So if they prefer to do the arts part or the theory part, they can do that. And then it's also about leadership and communication, because it's not only that just because you're doing the theory, you've got that part to do, because you also have to communicate with other people to check that it's okay and everyone's okay with it. So it's not just your traditional classroom skills that you're learning, it's more than that. Yeah.
I know that some of the other students who've been involved with Michaela have been talking a lot about student voice and student agency, and the fact that they're able to choose what they're doing, choose how they do it, choose who they do it with, that kind of thing, and being able to take some independence in your learning, which I think it's important for students to do, and they don't get to do it enough. In our classrooms, they're not able to say, yep, I'm enjoying this, I want to focus on this, I want to keep working, or say, this is too difficult for me, this is not something I'm passionate about, this is not something I love. And so there's that choice as well, which I think is an important thing for students to experience throughout high school.
Yeah, I'd say it rarely happens that students get to co-design the content. So that's pretty unique about it.
I'll just ask... So you all have different backgrounds. We'll just ask, why did you all join the STEAM program? Rachel, I know you said you're a physics and maths teacher, so you've been clearly interested in this sort of thing for a while. Emma, you said you joined not too long ago.
That's right.
And Michaela, you're a student. You got to choose this as an elective. So we'll just start going around. We'll start off with Michaela.
So my teacher actually invited me to do this, and he put my name forward, so I did it, not realising that it wouldn't be just, you're building a house or you're building a model or something. I didn't realise it was more than that. So when Simon, the teacher from VU, came forward with us and said, what things do you like about school, what do you not, how can we improve this, I was very shocked, and that's what got me hooked on it, because for me, I personally didn't like the way that school was taught. It's not so much what we're learning, it's how we're learning it. That's how I viewed it. Yeah.
Emma?
I love that answer. I came on at about halfway through this year. There was a call put out for interested teachers. So my background is as a teacher librarian, but also as a music teacher. And I guess you could say I brought the arts component, not having the science and technology background. Yeah.
Cool. And Rachel?
Yeah, well, I'm a physics teacher. I have a degree in physics and in teaching, and I studied engineering briefly as well. I started at the school at the beginning of the year. At my previous school, I was there for a couple of years, and I was assisting to build a STEM program within the curriculum, which looked very different to what's here. And I was part of that, and that was a great journey to start thinking about what does STEM mean to us, how can we incorporate it, what emphasis and significance should we put on each of the letters within that, and how are we building those skills. When I applied for my job here, it was as a maths, physics, STEAM teacher. So I came to the school into the STEAM team, and I was able to teach those subjects at the junior years. Then during term 3, when the first STEAM lab was running, I very much wanted to be a part of it, and it unfortunately I had a year 12 class who had to take priority, and then at the end of the term I was asked if I would like to be the staff volunteer to go along to the labs, and I couldn't say yes loud enough or soon enough.
So this one's more directed at Rachel. You've been involved in the STEM or STEAM program for quite a while now. Have you made any projects or helped with anything that's made a difference in communities?
Yes, I hope. Yes and no. I suppose in the same idea that the endpoint is not our focus, I hope that in my classes, not just my STEM classes, my STEAM classes, but also in my other classes as well, that I've been able to instill in my students a love of learning and the passion for inquiry and understanding. In my physics classes, I like to spend a lot of time just discussing and trying to understand the content. And I think it's those skills that I tend to instill in my teaching. And so I hope that in the long run, in the future, I've worked to make students passionate lifelong learners with 21st century thinking skills and agency in their learning and understanding. So right now I don't have something to put in front of you to say, look how I've helped the community, but I hope that every teacher, every STEAM teacher, everyone who's engaged in these ideas and these skills is able to take something from it. And I've taken as much as I've given, I feel, as well. So I think some of the fantastic projects that we made at the STEAM labs this term, it would be fantastic if we can set some of them up in schools, if we can get some of those ideas running. At the moment we haven't, but that's definitely, I think, one of our next steps is looking how can we take this fantastic work by doing the STEAM labs and get it out into the community.
For those just tuning in, you're listening to the STEAM Show on Footscray Live, and our special guests today are Emma, Rachel and Michaela from Footscray City College. Speaking of Footscray City College, next year it's going to be Footscray High School with the expanded campuses. How is the STEAM project going to change, and is it going to interact between both campuses, or is it going to be individual to each other? How's that all going to work?
I can talk to that a little bit, and I do apologise if I make any mistakes in this discussion. So we've hired someone from the Gilmore campus to work as a leading teacher for STEAM. We have a building down there that is dedicated to STEAM. We have 2 different types of STEAM that we're teaching at the junior campus, and so those skills are going to start to be built from the beginning. And then STEAM, as it's running at Footscray City, I believe is going to continue into next year. I think once we become Footscray High School and we're the 10 to 12 campus, STEAM will run quite differently, because by that time we need to be quite prescriptive with our curriculum. But I think we've got this incredible opportunity right in front of us with the junior campus to build an incredible program, very strong program, where we can create really passionate learners and advocates for our community.
So I was just wondering, why do you think that STEM or STEAM would be important going forward?
I know I finished my teaching degree at the end of 2015, and we were starting to talk a lot about 21st century skills, and any teacher who's been teaching less than 10 years will have heard 21st century skills, inquiry learning, project-based, all these buzzwords that go around within politicians and within teacher networks and communities. We have all these wonderful buzzwords, and I think STEAM is our strategy to bring those buzzwords from ideas and ideals into actual projects and actual classrooms. So I think we learn a lot of words, but not a lot of strategies. And I think STEAM gives us those strategies. It's the vehicle, it's the skills, it's the way that we access. And you hear all the statistics around the 50% of the jobs that you guys will be doing don't exist yet. I think that number's much, much higher, but you need to be able to understand the world we're moving into. And one way to understand that is to be able to have an issue put in front of you and to understand how we're going to approach this. How are we going to acquire our information? What skills do we need? What knowledge do we need to approach this problem? And I think that's something that is becoming increasingly important for our current students moving into careers and moving into university. And I think it's absolutely fundamental that we build those skills. The content will come and go. Even as a physics teacher, physics has changed so much since it started being taught. And so we need to focus on the skills rather than the content, rather than just the content.
Yeah.
So, with STEAM being more practical than regular classes in the curriculum, would you think that this is more important than, say, maths or art or something, or do you think that it's more of just a regular class? Or
well, it depends what form it takes. So I have said a few times that there are different ways we can do STEAM, and different ways we can do it in the classroom, different ways we can integrate it into content. So I think everything is equally important. I think in mathematics we learn really important skills that we then apply in the sciences, for example. So everything we teach is fundamental skills and content that we can build on and that we can use. And I think STEAM is just another set of skills. It's just another subject. It's more content that we can use to build our understanding. So I'm not going to say one or another is more important. I think they're all vital in building well-rounded students.
So that was fantastic. We're going to be coming to the end of the interview soon. So just to finish up, for people listening, maybe parents who are considering bringing their kids to Footscray in years to come, what would you say to promote our STEAM program, to convince these parents to join the school? We'll start off with Michaela. As a student, you understand what it feels like and what the journey has been like. Would you like to go through that?
For me, it has helped me a lot with my career choice. So I want to be a primary school teacher, or at least work with kids. And yay! And so that's given me a bit of an open eye to like what that's going to be like. Mm-hmm. With the STEAM labs, just with STEAM in general, it's a positive environment, and it's not just science technology, so you don't have to be good at everything, but it's more labor with your hands. I feel like that's how I view STEAM in our classrooms. Yeah.
And Emma?
I just want to talk about a beautiful image that Michaela's created. It might just be in the workshopping stage, and obviously this doesn't translate on radio because it's a visual, but I'll try and describe it. Michaela's put together this picture, and it's kind of a logo for the labs. Mm-hmm. And within this logo, she's got 3 circles that represent leadership, knowledge, and teamwork. And so you may not necessarily have thought of those concepts when you think of STEAM and you think of the tech side, but I believe that Michaela has definitely demonstrated those aspects of leadership, knowledge, and teamwork.
Yeah. And what about you, Rachel?
Well, something I would say to prospective parents, at the moment, the teachers at this school, we're on the cusp of something brilliant, I believe. I think Footscray High School and the Footscray Learning Precinct really gives us an opportunity to move confidently forward into the 21st century and the way we're thinking and the way we're doing things now. And every teacher here is so incredibly passionate about getting the best for our students. And we're thinking forward, we're thinking ahead. The fact that we're currently recording a radio show with student hosts, I think just shows that we are really forward thinking and we're really passionate about our students and the opportunities we give them at the school. And I think Moving forward with the precinct, it's just going to be opportunities galore, and there are so many things that we're going to do that are going to make give our students just so many opportunities to learn and to do and to be.
Well, that was a fantastic answer. It's a fantastic interview. So thank you for joining us, Emma, Rachel, and Michaela. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That was Emma Pollock, librarian, Rachel Beagley, teacher, and Michaela, student at Footscray City College. My name is Isaac Johns, and I'd like to thank my panel today, consisting of James and Griff. This has been the STEAM Show on Footscray Live.
You're listening to Footscray Live.